For the past 7 years, I've spent countless hours and dollars into a little game called Destiny. Or Destiny 2, depending on how you want to phrase it. The franchise is Destiny, the game's Destiny 2. Anyway, the world, the story, the characters, and the gameplay have always encapsulated me. They've always fascinated me. And sure, there have been more than a couple rough patches throughout the years, but I still deeply love this game. Now the epic conclusion to the first saga of Destiny has arrived, Lightfall, the second to last expansion before it's all over. It's hard to think of an expansion, an add-on, a DLC that I've been more excited for than Lightfall. 10 years of Destiny have led up to this moment. Loads of questions are about to get answered, character arcs are about to finish, and this is going to head towards the end, right? But after finally finishing the campaign, I sadly have to say that Lightfall leaves us with more questions than answers and is a disappointing first part of the end of the Light and Dark saga. Just a quick heads up, massive spoilers for the campaign and a little bit of post-campaign content here. So if you haven't played the game, if you care about spoilers, go ahead, click away. If you don't care, or if you played the game, let's get into this. Let's get all of the bad out first. Bad news first, then good news. You know how it goes? So, bad news out of the way, starting with the story. Now, the first half of the campaign I thought was pretty great. It established the power and the menacing presence of the Witness, Talos' new form and allegiance, why we're on Neptune, and even the Cloud Striders. All of this was done well, and I was happy with it. And then halfway through, the story starts getting really sloppy. And we still don't know what this veil is, or why the Witness even wants it. All we know is that the Witness wants it, so we must stop him because whatever he's doing is bad. The Vex show up for some reason and start taking away screen time from the main plot, which was not necessary. And the most predictable death in the franchise happens with Rohan, which is a real shame because I felt like they could have done a lot more with him. He was a pretty cool character when he was introduced, and I wish you could get to know him and interact with him. Maybe see him in some seasonal content, but nope, he's dead. And you see it coming from a mile away. The biggest problem with the story, one of the biggest problems with the story, is the veil. Now, the problem with the veil isn't even about the veil itself, but in the fact that at the end of the campaign, even into post-campaign content, we still have no idea what this thing is. None. Zero. Zilch. There are lore masters that spend countless hours studying this world, studying certain objects and what's going on in the world of Destiny, and they can't even tell us. Who am I, who didn't even play the last season, supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to know what the veil is? Is it a weapon? Is it a device? Is it a being? Is it a portal? Who knows? Having the central part of the plot being a MacGuffin and never explaining it is so bad. It really takes the story from great at the beginning and starts changing it into this just mess. It makes what should have been a gut-wrenching, scary ending into a confusing one. Because we never learn what the veil is, what it does, or why the Witness, or us for that matter, want it, we have no reason to panic, be afraid at the end. Which brings us to another problem with the story, with the campaign, which is the ending, which is a confusing mess, which is such a shame because it looks so cool. I just wish I knew what was going on. I could maybe get past the whole last second MacGuffin edition thing here, but not explaining the ending was a really weird choice. Not right before the cutscene, not even after. We get no explanation of what happened except that we apparently lost, which you never feel like that because none of the characters' actions or the world portrays that. I'm pretty sure Ikora was smiling in our interaction with her. Zavala's just like, well, whatever, that sucks. I guess we'll persevere. It's like, y'all lost what you hoped to protect, what gave you your power, your sense of security. Everything you supposedly fought for is gone. Like, this should be devastating. People should be in a panic. If we lost, if the Witness got what he needed to defeat us, like, we should be freaking out. But everyone's like, nah, it sucks, but we'll get through it. It doesn't feel like we lost. The only thing that seemed to change in the world is now that the Traveler has a pink triangle in the middle of it. We still have our light. which I'm not sure how that will work. I'm sure it'll be explained somewhere. No one seems to be hurt. I mean, all we lost was Rohan, and everyone's safe and sound. So I definitely don't feel like we lost. And I know a lot of people make comparisons between Lightfall and Infinity War. But this is one where they should have taken some notes from Infinity War. At the end of that, you feel for the heroes. You feel like they lost. You have no idea how they're going to get out of this situation. Before leaks started coming and all that stuff, you didn't know. You walked out of that theater going, wow, I can't believe they just lost. Here, you don't even know what's going on. It's like Thanos snapping, but we have no idea why the snap was important in the first place. The other problem with the veil, and again, it's not even with the veil itself, it's that everyone in the game seems to know what it is but us. No one tells us what it is. It's almost like it's assumed. I guess I missed something at the beginning, or we all did. Osiris, Nimbus, Rohan, and Keitel all talk as though they know what it is, so please enlighten us. I mean, we're the ones that gotta go fight and find it. Please tell us what we're looking for, why it's important. Which, talking about those characters brings me to another problem with the expansion, which is these characters. The villains were great, and we'll get to them in a second, but the heroes, not so much. Like I said before, Rohan was great, but was wasted. Osiris, I thought they had some real potential going into this season. Like him just being done with being controlled with Savathun. Him and Rohan's dynamic seemed like it was going to be really cool and something that would have been awesome to explore. Like there was a lot that Osiris could have offered. Instead, they chose to make him almost like a crybaby. Like, we gotta get to the veil. That was pretty much all of his lines. We gotta get to the veil. We gotta get to the veil. Stop dilly-dallying. We gotta get to the veil. Stop messing around. We gotta get to the veil. It was this whole thing. It got really annoying really quickly. And there were times that Osiris was a really cool character, like when we were doing that training montage with Strand, which we'll get to that in a second. For the most part, I feel like Osiris was also wasted. Keitel is not in the story as enough as she should be. I mean, this is her freaking father, and these are her people that are rebelling against their own kind. I have a feeling she should be way more involved than she was. She just shows up in the middle, is like, yeah, I'm here because Callus is here. And then she has a really cool scene at the end. And then that's about it. She's not even there when we kill him, which I didn't feel was right, but whatever. And lastly, I just don't like Nimbus. But now to the good, because even though there were a lot of bad parts, a lot of disappointing parts in this expansion, there's also a lot of good and a lot of things that I enjoyed and that I felt like Bungie got right. First, the cutscenes across the board were amazing. I felt like I was watching a show or a movie. Like, I didn't want the cutscenes to end. I wanted them to keep going. Which, by the way, Bungie, I think that would be an awesome idea. Destiny show, Destiny movie. Just saying. Just an idea. Another bright part was the villains. The relationship and the interactions between the Witness and Callus was easily the best part of the expansion. When the Witness just absolutely explodes at Callus and Callus is just scared out of his mind as the Witness is looming over him, I thought was an amazing cutscene. I will say, even though I think for the most part they did a good job with the villains, I think they mishandled Callus. Him and Keitel should have played a much bigger part in the story. I think if you replace everything with the Vex, with Callus and Keitel, you get a lot more meaningful story, and you add a lot more meaning to that final stand, to that final encounter with Callus. I think just exploring their relationship a little bit more. And I know that we did that a little bit in Season of the Haunted, and really just since we've met Keitel. It would have been nice to see here, especially since Callus is in the flesh now. We get to see him, we get to interact with him, we get to fight him. It would have been nice to see that. The Witness, on the other hand, I think they did a fantastic job with. It's menacing, powerful, and still mysterious. And the only bad thing about The Witness is that we still don't know much about its plan. In fact, we barely know anything at all. That's more on the writing team than it is the character, so I won't hold it against The Witness. Strand is great. It's my new favorite subclass and has led to some of the most fun gameplay moments I've had in Destiny. The story behind Strand, the background, not so much. We just randomly find it on Neptune when we plop down there. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts calling it Strand, like they know what it is, but then they don't. I wish we had to do more to discover it. I wish maybe we had a voice inside of our head leading us somewhere and we hear it throughout the campaign and then we finally find it, just add more meaning to finding it, making that discovery a little bit more cool and maybe giving us the subclass a little bit sooner. I did like that we had to train to wield it, but that training took way too long and had way too much explaining to do. I get what people were saying when they said this is the Strand expansion, because sometimes it really did feel like that. You don't even get the subclass till the end of the campaign, which is kind of a bummer, but it's still really fun to use. Neomuna is a really cool place. I am super glad they added a new location, somewhere we'd never been before. And I think it's going to bring a lot of cool lore. I'm indifferent on how they explained that there aren't a ton of people running around with the whole uploading their subconscious into the cloud arc. It's whatever. I think it would have been cool if there were a ton of people running around. I get why they probably didn't want to do that, but I still think it would have been cool. And it would have been cool to see a city in Destiny, or just a location in general that was bursting with life, that things were going down, things were happening. That wasn't the tower. I understand why, but I still think it would have been cool. But I really like Neomuna. It's a really cool location. It's different than anything we've seen in Destiny before, and yet it still has that Destiny feel, which is what I love. The expansion from a gameplay perspective was awesome. The Tormentors were a fun and challenging new addition to the enemies in the game. The missions, for the most part, were good. My favorite part of the expansion was by far the final standoff with Keitel and the Cabal, where you're just slaying a ton of enemies with Strand and fighting alongside the Cabal, just blowing up Goliath tanks. It felt like you were in a movie. It felt like you were in an action film, which I know is what Bungie was kind of shooting for, and I think they nailed that on the head. It felt like a final stand moment, fit for the occasion, fit point we're at in this saga. I thought it was done very well, and I really enjoyed that. I will probably replay the campaign again, not only just for the rewards and the triumphs, but to replay that moment as well. Lightfall had a ton it had to get right. And sadly, it failed on a lot of those categories. I know I've already made the comparison between Destiny and Infinity War, but I'm going to make it again. Because like Infinity War, this was the first of 2 parts to end a 10-year saga. But instead of a masterpiece like Infinity War, we're stuck with an expansion that leaves us with more questions than answers and fails to convey the emotion, the defeat that we're supposed to feel at the end. Lightfall is like if instead of setting up the Infinity Stones and Thanos for years, they just introduced the stones in Infinity War and never established why Thanos wanted the stones. And it makes it confusing. It takes away a lot from, besides the veil and the plants not being revealed, what's probably a pretty decent story. But it takes it all away just because they didn't explain things. They made it fuzzy. They made it confusing. They put too much emphasis on mystery in a point where we needed answers. Which is such a shame because it's a fun expansion from the gameplay side. I really enjoyed my time, but a massive letdown on the story side. Which, if I'm going to be honest, is my favorite part about Destiny. Is the story, is the lore. It kind of sucks that this was the part they messed up on. But that about wraps it up for me. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about Lightfall. What you think of the story, gameplay, Strand, raid speculations. Let me know down in the comment section. Let me know. But as always, I love y'all. Hope you have a fantastic day. And until next time, peace out, bro skillets.